it's magic. You know, it is one of those special places where when you are out there, you know, your eyes dilate a little bit, you breathe a little more deeply, and you just have this sense of humbling privilege.
Rookery Bay also has been, it's home for me. It's a place where I've always come back to.
I love the idea it provides benefits, but mostly I just love that it is. There's value in being.
It's 100 years from what I do every day. And I come here and I can relax.
As people visit this area, they are spending their money, they're staying in hotels, and it's all because it's a healthy ecosystem.
The health of the estuary is my livelihood. It's there, it supports my business, and my business helps support the economy.
When I think about that role, thinking about a refuge for manatees and dolphin, Florida panther, but I also think of it as a refuge for people.
Today, between the coastal cities of Naples and Marco Island, you'll find Rookery Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve. At 110,000 acres, the reserve is located in Collier County, the largest county in Florida, and includes 40% of its coastline. It is one of the few remaining relatively undisturbed mangrove estuaries in North America.
Rookery Bay is really a special place, and through the efforts of grassroots conservation, through the 60s and up through today, we're actually able to have this place set aside so it'll be there in perpetuity, so generations of families can actually enjoy these resources and also use them as well.
Rookery Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve was established in 1978 to protect this mangrove ecosystem, as well as a place for scientific research. As a partnership between the Florida Department of Environmental Protection and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration.
And it's really set up to enable long-term conservation, research, and education of this estuary.
The reserve has 4 sectors tasked with working together on this mission: the stewardship sector, the coastal training program, the education sector, and the research sector. The research sector at Rookery Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve is engaged in extensive research and monitors water, weather, and wildlife to observe short-term events and long-term change.
This is all connected. What happens to the mangrove systems is going to impact the community that sits right behind it. And the changes that the community makes in turn is going to impact the mangrove systems.
It is the education sector's responsibility to share the research sector's findings with the public.
We're the sector that gets to experience all the cool stuff that the researchers and field staff are doing, and then we get to translate it into something that the public can understand and appreciate.
The education sector hosts events and lectures at the Environmental Learning Center and provides opportunities for hands-on environmental education for all ages. Staff work hard to provide an educational experience that is vivid and exciting. The coastal training program, the 3rd sector at Rookery Bay, also focuses on education, but is geared toward a different audience.
We really do education, but just for that professional kind of audience. We are providing science-based information, training, and tools. Anybody who really has the ability to make decisions that are affecting kind of a landscape scale.
CTP trains law enforcement officers from Fish and Wildlife Commission and other agencies whose work impacts the estuary. CTP provides workshops for civic leaders on resilience from storms and sea level rise. And CTP works to train landscapers as well. The stewardship sector at Rookery Bay has a critical role in implementing the transfer of science to natural resource management.
So you're doing the science-related things, and then you're doing those kind of just down in the dirt.
Invasive species control, prescribed fire, and restoration are ways that resource managers work to protect habitat and sustain native biodiversity. Working with invasive species proves to be difficult.
So we have to understand that we're not just managing for mangroves today, we're managing for mangroves 50 years in the future. We have a tremendous responsibility to look after this ecosystem, manage it, so people will love it and understand the investment that they make in it.
At Rookery Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve, scientists and business owners, citizens and government officials, educators and researchers, tourists and locals are all the stewards of Southwest Florida's mangrove coast. The Friends of Rookery Bay also helps with education and outreach, fundraising for the reserve, and manages kayak and boat tours through the reserve. The nonprofit Friends of Rookery Bay supports the reserve through volunteer recruitment, outreach, an eco-tour program, advocacy, and fundraising activities. Members, volunteers, and donors enable the Friends to be a reliable partner to the reserve and advocate for preservation and coastal protection. All these efforts work to create a healthy ecosystem. For land managers at Rookery Bay, they see the task of stewardship as a responsibility not to be taken lightly. Today, Rookery Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve is in public ownership, and it is managed by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection in cooperation with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. The reserve encompasses an area about the same size as the Redwood National and State Parks in California. It is one of the few remaining relatively undisturbed mangrove estuaries in North America. But in the last century, Rookery Bay was at risk of being developed. After World War II, the city of Naples, north of Rookery Bay, expanded rapidly. Between 1950 and 1960, the population of Naples tripled and Collier County doubled. On neighboring Marco Island, the largest island in the 10,000 islands, the Deltona Corporation began plans in 1964 to develop most of the island. A coastal road was planned to connect the cities of Naples and Marco Island.
Well, there was a development venture to build a loop road that would go through the Rookery Bay area and essentially open up the area to waterfront development.
This 10-mile loop road would begin south of Naples at Bayshore Drive, cut through Keewaydin, and then bridge 3 more undeveloped barrier islands before terminating at Route 952 north of Marco Island. The road would effectively encapsulate Rookery Bay and demolish its pristine condition.
They thought it would not be nice to go down the middle of Keewaydin, so that absolutely horrified my father.
Laverne Gaynor's parents, Naples philanthropists Lester and Delora Norris, owned a cabin on Keewaydin Island and appreciated the island's natural beauty. Not wanting to see this natural beauty destroyed, the Norrises began efforts to stop the road. Their friend, the young Naples lawyer George Vega, wrote to the county commission pleading for them to stop the road.
We believe it would destroy the character of this unspoiled area. It would obviously destroy natural resources and is a road that goes out of its way to lead to nowhere.
Vega and the Norrises dubbed the project the Road to Nowhere. Knowing they would need community support, they started a petition to stop the road. Meanwhile, the Collier County Commission set a date to discuss the road, March 17, 1964. The day arrived, and the meeting room crackled with tension. First, Naples City Councilman and botanist Joel Cooperberg talked about the scientific importance of mangroves at Rookery Bay, based on a new study by the University of Miami. Then, George Vega approached the commissioners with a bulky roll of paper. Taped end to end, it was the petition against the road.
George Vega rolled the petition down the middle of the room, over by the commissioners, and then up the wall behind the commissioners. And he said, these are the people who do not want the road to nowhere. Now, where are the people who want the road to nowhere? And it was dead silence. The road was then eliminated.
Over 2,000 Collier County residents signed the 50-foot petition to stop the road. But Lester Norris realized there was further work to be done. The road may be blocked, but the land could still be sold for development. And so, less than a month after they defeated the road to nowhere, Lester Norris invited a group of his friends to his cabin on Keewaydin Island to discuss this issue.
And I believe there were about 15 people that had a meeting over at Keewaydin.
The group decided to call themselves the Collier County Conservancy, inspired by the Nature Conservancy. And their first order of business was to purchase the land surrounding Rookery Bay for conservation.
The Collier Conservancy that became the spark plug around which much of the effort to protect Rookery Bay was spinning.
With population booming in Collier County, the group saw the goal of protecting the land as urgent.
When you hear the roar of the dredge and the harsh, jarring sounds of the bulldozer, you know our priceless environment is being destroyed for real estate development. Save Rookery Bay. Support the Collier County Conservancy and help make this priceless beauty spot into a sanctuary, forever safe for the enjoyment of you and your children.
Over 1,000 residents and many local business and civic organizations donated to the Conservancy's campaign to save Rookery Bay.
There was a group of private citizens that ended up protecting it with a lot of partners, a lot of help. The Nature Conservancy, Audubon, a whole bunch of organizations came together to support the local people to protect Rookery Bay.
Within 2 years of the petition, the Collier County Conservancy successfully purchased over 2,500 acres of land surrounding Rookery Bay for conservation for around $500,000. They turned this land over to the National Audubon Society to be turned into a nature preserve.
I mean, Audubon would not have had the money to go in had it not been for the fact that those people in Naples were willing to raise the money and make it work in terms of the land acquisition.
And this was how the first part of Rookery Bay was put into conservation.